right, well, welcome back to Friday Night Lights on Thursday. We're playing tonight, Thursday night, at Chickasaw. They're the Chieftains, and the Gators will be going up against them at their place. This is the last game of the season, and so we need you to come out and support. It's the Battle of Highway 43, a big rivalry game. There's a trophy involved at the end, and also, so the Gators need your support tonight. So come on out and be a part of that. Coach, tell us about tonight's game and a little bit about what you hope to see.
All right, the game's going to be played at Dotson Park, and their park has been under construction all year, and it just got cleared by the inspectors earlier this week as far as them being able to host the game. And so, like, this is going to be their first real home game of the season, and so what they're doing is they're punching a lot into one game, meaning it's going to be senior night and homecoming all together. And so there's going to be a lot of pregame festivities going on, meaning that, you know, they're going to have their senior night call-outs just before the game. They're going to have their homecoming court announced at halftime. Our band will perform their usual halftime show, but it's going to be pregame. And so, you know, a lot going on pregame as far as festivities going on. You know, the home side, if you've been to their park before, they have they've switched sides, meaning that the former home side is now the visitor side, and they have these brand new, pretty good sizable set of bleachers that they built that's going to be their side. And so, you know, so basically they've rearranged the stadium, and as far as like the visiting team accommodations, all that kind of stuff, it's going to be all different. The particulars that you guys need to know is going to be $10 cash. GoFan also available to get in. There's going to be a $5 charge for parking. And so, like, you guys come into the game, be ready for that parking charge. As far as the game itself, you know, I talked to our guys all week about, you know, how their players are going to be fired up, not only because this is the first home game of their season, but like this is the first game in the newly renovated stadium. And so, you know, I talked to Coach Zach Brown, who was a member of the Satsuma Gators, who opened up our new renovated stadium back, was it 2016? Was that the first game? And how much it meant to our players that year, you know, to play in the newly renovated stadium. And like what he said was, like, you know, the Gators weren't going to lose that night. And so what we've been talking to our team about is expect a fired up Chickasaw team to come out and play to represent their hometown, their community, and their home stadium. And the fact it is a rival game, so throw records out the door. And it's like this. You know, we're a proud football team too, and we want to win too. And there's a trophy involved of it in the end, and we've had that trophy the past 2 years, and we're proud of that. And so we're going to go into you know, into the game ready for a fight. We're going to put a fight up also ourselves, and you know, really talking about their team. The strength of their team is going to be their front seven. Like they play a 3-man defensive line. They have these 2 outside linebackers that they walk up on the edge, so it's like a 5-2 type defense. You know, they'll play a lot of man, some cover 3, but like their front 7 guys in the box are really the strength of their defensive football team, really the strength of their team, and really the thing about their front 7 is they don't stay blocked. They have pretty good size on the inside as far as their defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen have pretty good size, and like their stand-up outside linebackers that'll be standing up right outside of our tackles had pretty good height, especially number 7, who'll be lined up just outside of Seth Palmer, our right offensive tackle. He's a pretty tall kid, got long arms, and our ability to be physical, and I feel confident about that. But we just got to go do it, got to go execute, and you know, looking as far as you know, like offensively, you know, you've got, you know, Jordan Poe, who's right at about 175 yards from having 1,000 yards rushing this year. And so that's going to be a big goal for our offensive football team, and that ties right into winning the football game. So if we can control the line of scrimmage and maintain our blocks and not let their defensive linemen get off blocks and make tackles like they did last week against St. Luke's, and if we can get Jordan those yardage, and it's not about the individual record, it's about that's going to be what's going to help us win the game. Oh, by the way, Jordan gets an individual record also. But if we can do that, we feel confident about our abilities. You know, and then offensively for them, you know, they have a speed factor. And so, you know, they're a threat to break an 80-yard run, you know, from anywhere on the field. And so some of the things they've done over the year, like throwing a go ball deep. You know, like they played Mobile Christian first game the week before we played them. And it wasn't for a touchdown, but they threw a 65-yard go ball for a big play against Mobile Christian. And so, you know, and then like last week, they beat St. Luke's 12-9, which got them in the playoffs. And the 2 touchdowns, that, you know, the 12 points they scored were both on go balls, slinging it deep. And so, you know, our ability to play back and not get beat deep in the secondary is going to be huge. And then also, you know, talking to other coaches that have played them this year is, you know, their quarterback can run, and so our ability to be able to slow him down and really just not let them get out in space and run is going to be huge. And so, you know, I expect a very physical, very fiery football game with a lot of fight from both teams. I mean, it's a rival game, it's community pride, and so we're excited about Thursday night.
Well, as you kind of conclude this season, it's your 4th year. Tell me, this season, are there a couple of plays or a couple of things that have just jumped out at you that, you know, that just make you really proud and that folks might want to know about? So.
You know, really, you know, looking at our program from a whole, you know, we've had the largest number of middle school football players come out in a long time. You know, we've had, you know, 35 of those. I spoke about them last week. You know, they had a 4-2 season. We're the league runner-up. You know, Mobile Christian was the league winner of our middle school league, and so we feel real good about the middle school group, and the 8th grade class is coming up to be freshmen next year. We played a full schedule of JV games. You know, like I said, we scheduled 7, and the last one didn't get rained out, but it had rained the night before, and Cottage Hill didn't want to tear up their field going into a big region championship game for them, and we didn't have anywhere else to play. We weren't able to reschedule it, so our junior varsity kids got 6 full games. And so, you know, you talk about our underclassmen, like the non-starters on Friday night, have played a ton of football. And so when I first got here, you know, back in July of 2022, there were no middle school games scheduled, and this was July of 2022. There was 1 JV game scheduled, and there were 9 varsity games. And so what was going on was our younger kids weren't getting reps. And they're getting reps. And so, you know, we're a young football team, as I've said before on this show. You know, there are 95 football players in our program. 22 of them were juniors and seniors, meaning 73 were from the 10th grade and down. And so those 73 got reps. You know, we've had some injuries this year to some key players. You know, Jesse Bird was injured in the first game, and thankfully for him, his career in football is not over. He's got, you know, college offers, and we've had some kids that have been banged up here and there that have missed a couple games, and a couple of them have come back, and so on and so forth. But you know, but really, our young kids getting reps have been a real positive, because that's the only way you get better at something, and that's by doing it in game-like situations. And then, you know, our offensive line has been a strength all year. Jordan Poe's had a great year all year. You know, Jordan Poe is a second-year football player, and you know, he's made a goal to himself that he wants to play college football, and so he's had the kind of year in really 8 games of running the ball that, you know, that I can sell him to college recruiters, and he's got good enough grades. He's a great young man, and his offensive line is blocked for him well enough for him to be able to have a chance to break 1,000, and so, you know, being able to promote him. You know, Micah Sullivan is another young man that, you know, we've nominated him for, I want to say it's for one of the, Channel 10 has like a academic player of the week, like an athlete of the week, but it's based on academics. He's one that we've nominated for that based on ACT score, the different activities that he does, his GPA, you know, AP scholar, and he's had a great football season. And so he's another one that, you know, whatever his goals are, whether it be sports at the next level or whatever academics, you know, he's had a tremendous football season. Parker Sells is another young man that has done everything that we've asked as coaches his 4 years here. And, you know, whether it be, you know, playing on the offensive line or playing a tight end or whatever it may be, he's been a real selfless player for us. And, you know, really going to relish the short amount of time, you know, that I as a coach and we as a team have with him. And that's just to name a few. You know, you got Seth Palmer, who, you know, has been a 4-year starter on the offensive line, has been helping us on the defensive line, also making plays for us. A great young man. You know, he won the Crichton Optimist Club Lineman of the Week a couple weeks ago for his performance against St. Luke's. and in that banquet that we went to there at Morrison's in Mobile, you know, the other winners, you know, I'm a commit to Mississippi State University. I'm a commit to Auburn University. And Seth Palmer, well, I'm going to go to Auburn University and I'm going to be an aerospace engineer major. And, you know, I don't know if I can spell that, but like, he's for real about that. He has awesome grades, and he's another kid that's, you know, passed his, you know, his AP test. And so we have some tremendous young men that are great people, do great in the classroom, and are going to do great things beyond the game of football. You know, Dylan Ladner's another young man that come out in the 10th grade and has been a 2-year starter for us up front, has played a lot of, you know, defensive line for us this past year. And that's just to name a few. And there's a couple kids that, you know, I forgot to mention because I don't have the list in front of my face, or I talk about all of them. You know, Cohen Hinton last week, you know, he made a big catch, you know, that set up our last touchdown against Jackson. And so, you know, he was a senior that come out for the very first time and made a big play in his last game, you know, here in our stadium. And so, you know, there's been a lot of positives along with the negatives as far as of not having a lot of wins. But, you know, last week we had a speaker, Sergeant First Class Brandon Lloyd, who is a retired Army Ranger. And he spoke to us about the Ranger Creed. And part of that is, you know, never give up on your brothers, meaning brothers being your teammates, your brotherhood. And like part of that Ranger Creed is showing up